We want to take it out live now because we have high tide that is approaching. When Brian mentions the entire eastern seaboard, as this low hasn't even really formed yet, it's just beginning to, we still have a significant tide that we need to talk about, notably in Charleston, South Carolina. Yes, we already know the signals are there that this will be an impactful storm, but meteorologist Bayne Froney, as she's been showing us, is watching that tide creep up. And it's remarkable, Bayne, because we look at what Charleston can endure. And with this high tide, given everything we've seen the past week and a half, this is the worst tide we've seen in Charleston.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. This is a serious situation, and a lot of folks that are from the area, they're used to this kind of flooding, but not to this extent. I mean, I was talking to some folks, and they were telling me that they see this kind of flooding maybe once a year. I mean, take a look at this, you guys. You can actually kind of see a little bit of a current going on with just how much water has been pushed into this parking lot. Now, if you were hanging out with us about an hour, almost an hour and a half ago, this entire parking lot was completely dry. That just goes to show how fast this tide comes in and can really cause some serious issues. I mean, a lot of folks parked their cars here thinking nothing of it, and now we're having a hard time trying to get out. We have a car that's kind of trying to roll on through here and causing all of these waves rolling in as well. I mean, you can see a lot of folks are trying to avoid these puddles. It's heading out into the main road. And again, this is because we have those storm drains that are coming on through during high tide. The water comes up through the storm drains and then floods the waterways on the roads. And, this could be a particularly sticky situation for a lot of folks because, well, it's not really raining that hard. And all of a sudden, the streets are completely flooded. So it catches people off guard quite a bit. I mean, looking here, you can see where the water is coming up on these wheels. I mean, about almost 6 inches for some of these areas where we're dealing with the highest flooding at this point. And again, this area is used to having some high tides, having this flooding, but not to this extent, Stephen. We could see this becoming the 18th highest tide on record for Charleston alone. Now, we did speak to the communications officer for the city, and she was telling us that this is a serious situation. Even folks that are used to this need to be on high alert, and she wants people to know a few main messages. Take a listen.
And one other thing that we do that's super important is we open up some large parking garages for free for our residents to move their cars to higher ground. Because when that water comes up and it has nowhere to go, it goes right in your car. It could go in your home, too.
Yeah, it could go into your homes. It could go into those coastal areas. We're right by a nearby restaurant, and they were telling us, too, that even yesterday, this high tide was coming up so incredibly high, higher than they've ever seen it before. And, I mean, just a little bit of driving through causes a bunch of splashes onto the roadways. You can see here that we're kind of making some waves out here into the parking lot. Now, we are at the peak of high tide at this point, so we are expecting this water to eventually start to recede within the coming hours. But I mean, we still have a lot of flooding, and on top of this is seawater, so this is not good for cars at all. That's going to be its own issue as well. Now, speaking of that low pressure system, Stephen, that's still trying to form just off the coast, that's also bringing in those gusty winds, rough surf. Rip currents are also going to be a main concern for us here in Charleston for the next few days. And on top of that, we're also going to be dealing with some rain. We could get close to 2 to 3 inches by the end of this weekend just from more of that rainfall. So it's not just today where we could see this tide coming all the way up here impacting these parking lots, but it's also going to be moving into tomorrow as well as into Sunday. So this is a multi-day event that people need to be on high alert. I mean, again, this is going into the main roadways now. We did get some notifications that a couple of roads have been closed off, and they're kind of detouring people out of the way to keep them safe and out of those flooded areas. So just keeping that in mind. On top of this, too, behind me that way, that's a hospital. That's an area where a lot of folks are going to for emergency care, and that's an area that also really deals with this flooding on a regular basis. But add in that higher tide, going to cause even more problems here, Stephen. So at this point, we're expecting this, flooding to kind of start to recede within the next hour, hour and a half or so. But still, a lot of folks are trying to get places, and it's going to cause some serious problems. And people just need to be extra careful and stay vigilant. Even if they are kind of used to flooding in this area, it's extra high.
You had mentioned creating that wake. Where you're standing, is there a business? Are there homes? Because there was a threat that maybe some of this water could get into homes. This is going to be the highest tide that we see out of this entire weekend. But are they elevated? What's next to you?
Yeah, so right now we're next to a couple businesses. We're actually right by a gas station where a lot of folks are trying to just come and get gas, and all of a sudden they realize this whole parking lot is completely flooded. On top of this too, Stephen, there is a couple businesses that are right on the water. They are a little bit elevated because this, again, is an area that does get a little bit of flooding normally when it comes to high tide, but nothing like this. So these spaces are pretty used to getting some water in, but again, to that point, not throughout this entire parking lot like we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it's a remarkable thing to see, and it's going to be like that at least for the next couple of hours. But as you mentioned, high tide happening right now, and then we'll be heading toward that next low tide cycle. But high tide going to happen again in about 12 hours from now, so closer to midnight. All right, meteorologist Bayne Froney, been watching that tide come in to Charleston, historical Charleston, South Carolina. Bayne, appreciate it.